which is a little bit slow. So please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I should have said that this is the USD 305 Board of Education meeting for July 11th, 2023. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and we had an addendum to the personnel report. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay, moves. Do I have a second? Mark seconds. Any discussion? Then all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried, 7-0. Next on the agenda is the reorganization of the board for the 23-24 school year. The first one is election of the board president, and we have our model motions back on page 3 of the agenda, of the meeting packet, I should say. Is there a motion for?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the board elect Jim Fletcher to serve as president until new officer elections are held at the first regular meeting in July 2024.
It's been moved. Do I have a second? Bonnie seconds. Any discussion on that? Then all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried, 7-0. Jim, would you like to take over?
All right, thank you.
I'll just let you
Ms.
stay there.
Zimmerman. Before we move forward, I would like to take just a minute and thank you for the last year of service as president of the board. And
Thank you. It's a privilege. Thanks.
The next item on our agenda is election of the board vice president.
Mr. President, I almost called you Madam
Ms.
President,
Counselor.
sorry. I move that the board elect Gabe Grant to serve as the vice president until new officer elections are held at the regular meeting in July 2024.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Dr. Bandre, seconds. Any question on, or any conversation on the motion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Grant. Move to the next item on our agenda, which is approval of the consent agenda items, which include appointment of the Board of Education clerk, Ms. Deborah Howard, appointment of the Board of Education deputy clerk, Ms. Shanna Rector, appointment of the Board of Education treasurer, Ms. Lisa Peters, annual resolutions to establish regular meetings, to waive the annual requirements for generally accepted accounting principles and fixed asset accounting, to rescind policy statements found in the minutes, to adopt 1,116 school hours, to establish home rule. The 2023-2024 official depositories will be the Bank of Tesket, the Bank of the Plains, Bennington State Bank, Capital Federal, Central National Bank, Equity Bank, Exchange Bank, First Bank Kansas, Solomon State Bank, Sunflower Bank, and UMB Bank. The 2023-2024 official newspaper will be the Salina Journal. Annual appointments, Deputy Superintendent, Ms. Shanna Rector. School attendance officers will be the building principals. District Coordinator for ADA Bloodborne Pathogens, Title VI EOC, Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964, will be Aaron Wright, Executive Director of HR and Legal Services. District Coordinator for Title IX Gender Equality, Jody Cradcock-Eisen, Director of Support Services. District Coordinator for Section 504, Ms. Erin Wright. Hearing Officer, Robert German, Attorney at Law. Custodian of District Records, Ms. Deborah Howard, Board Clerk. Custodian of Building Records will be the building principals. Custodian of Student Records, Ms. Erin Wright. Food Service Authorized Representative, Ms. Lane Norris, Director of Food and Nutrition Services. Food Service Hearing Officer, Ms. Lisa Peters, Executive Director of Business. Head Start Authorized Representative, Superintendent Exline. Oh, I did. Food service determining officials will be the building principals and Miss Lane Norris. Keepers designated agents, Miss Erin Wright and Steve Dorsweiler, manager of HR. Current authorized representative, Lisa Peters. Custodian of activities funds, Gates receipts will be the secondary principals. Title I director, Shanna Rector. Freedom of Information Officer, Ms. Jennifer Kamian, Director of Communications. Homeless Coordinator, Jody Craddock Eisen. Asbestos Program Manager, Russ Vermillion, Maintenance Manager. Transportation Supervisor, Dustin Glavin, Operations Manager. To approve minutes of the June 6th, 2023 regular meeting, the minutes of the June 28th, 2023 special meeting, to approve the amended personnel report, to approve financial reports, which include the May's bills list, end-of-year bills from June 1, 2023 to June 30th of 2023, to approve the May Treasurers Report, the May Investment Report, journal entries for May and June, and to approve the June 30th, 2023 unencumbered cash balances. Approve encumbered listings to Cisco Foods in the amount of $141,000, to Highland Dairy Foods in the amount of $30,000 for food purchases for Heartland Early Education for the 2023-2024 school year, to JMH Cleaning for cleaning services to augment our custodial operation for the 2023-2024 school year in the amount of $65,000, to Eagle in the amount of $23,280 for the purchase of VMware software that allows our district to create virtual servers, and to revise the insurance premium from Iron Insurance Partners for the district's annual insurance renewal in the amount of $1,358,865. To approve the CKCIA contract with Presence Learning. To approve exceeding the revenue neutral rate. I'll get that done. Authorizing administration to prepare an R&R calculations and, if applicable, notify the county clerk by July 20th that the USD 305 will exceed the revenue neutral rate and for the applicable levying funds. To approve the 2023-2024 mileage allowance to establish the federal mileage reimbursement rate. As of July 1, 2023, the federal mileage reimbursement rate is 65.5 cents per mile. Approve the 2023-2024 petty cash funds for Central High, South High, Heartland Early Education, and the district office at $1,500 per fund. To approve HVAC repairs with Train for an open purchase order in the amount of $40,000 for ongoing fiscal year 24 repair charges. To approve HVAC technical support with Building Control Services for an open purchase order in the amount of $75,000 for ongoing fiscal year 2024 repair at charges. To approve the Heartland Kitchen renovation and bathroom addition construction to Ponton Construction in the amount of $22,240 for the purpose of relocating student restrooms at Heartland. To approve the 2023-2024 facility use fees. To approve Central High Robotics gift acceptance from the Gustav Hannah Applequist pass-through fund through the Greater Salina Community Foundation in the amount of $10,000. To approve the gift from Earl Bain Foundation in the amount of $10,000 to provide micro-scholarships to students taking their first college class in high school, and to approve the Heartland Child Care Partnerships contract. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda? Ms. Zimmerman.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
We have a motion for Ms. Zimmerman. Is there a second? Oh, Mr. Grant seconds. Any questions or conversation on the consent agenda? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on our agenda is the public forum. We do not have anyone who's requested to speak at our public forum, so we'll move to the action agenda with Ms. Erin Wright and the 2023-2024 salary and work conditions for certified staff.
this evening. Oh, okay, sorry. Hi, good evening.
Hello.
We are here right now to look at the recommendations for the 2023-2024 salary and work conditions for certified staff. As you all know, we engaged in the negotiations process this year with NEA Salina and agreed to some modifications of the contract. We are here tonight for you to recommend that you approve those agreed changes pending ratification by the association later this month. The first of those is we agreed to raise the base salary on the certified salary schedule, $1,500, which would flow throughout the schedule. It would change the base salary from $42,000 to $43,500 for our first-year teacher. We made some definitions change, some changes to the statutory reference in the definitions section. We removed a sunset clause provision. Last year, we added the ability for certified staff to work from home on work days. But when we did that, we had a sunset provision so we could try it out for the year and see how we felt it went. All reports said it went pretty well, so we've agreed to remove that provision for moving forward. Move the sunset provision moving forward. We have agreed to create another exception to the blackout day rule, which is the rule that prevents staff from utilizing discretionary leave on a few days throughout the year. There's a few identified days that we need everybody to be as present as possible. We created one exception to that, though, for funerals. So if somebody, a certified employee, wants to attend a funeral, at that time, they would be allowed to do so and use their leave for that purpose. We increased our parental leave from 5 days to 10 days. So every staff member in the district with the birth of a child or adoption of a child will now have 10 days of paid leave available to them for that purpose. We also created a new category of leave for bereavement in certain familial relationships with certain, it's identified specific people. They would be authorized to utilize 2 days of bereavement leave for that purpose. We added a special salary provision for school counselors. Previously, they had not been included in the group that had been given the additional salary provision. We made some changes to the longevity provision, removing the word step in order to hopefully make it clearer that their longevity steps equate with their year of service in, what's the word I'm looking for? When the Department of Education approves of the program, what's that called? Accredited. I got there eventually, my apologies. So their work experience in an accredited program will count. We increased the employer-paid health contribution to the health insurance by $20, so that will be a contribution of $540 a month now. We updated some statutory references. We updated some language to comport with the rest of the agreement. And we added a provision that, added two provisions actually. One clarifies that all employees have access to any notes or files that contain information that is directly used by an administrator to support some sort of formal disciplinary decision in some way. They would have access to the documents that supported the ultimate decision. And then we also added a provision that allows for teachers the right to have a conversation with the administrator after there's been a significant gross behavior, some sort of conduct situation with a student that's an extreme gross kind of misbehavior sort of situation. Before that child is returned to the classroom, the teacher who was in the middle of that or who was experiencing that has the right to request a meeting with an administrator prior to that child returning to the classroom. And we recommend that you approve these changes subject to pending ratification.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Mr. Grant?
I move we approve the changes to the 2023-2024 salary and work conditions for certified staff as presented pending NEA Salina ratification of the agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Ms. Coso seconds. Any discussion?
I would just add, I appreciate your work and your department's work, and especially NEA Salina's commitment at the table to coming to amicable resolutions to all those items. I think the term best place to learn and work came up throughout those discussions, and that was really the heart of us negotiating this year, and I appreciated the spirit from both sides for that, so.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Wright. Next item on our agenda is the 2023-2024 salary and benefit for classified, professional, technical, and substitutes. Ms. Wright.
Yes. So we have before you the recommended changes for the salaries and benefits for those other staff groups. Typically, those are based on changes made and to comport with the changes to our certified staff. Following that, we are recommending that classified employees, including administrative office personnel, education office personnel, instructional support staff, maintenance and operations, and food service, all receive a 3.57% increase added to the base of that classified salary schedule. That would make the base salary move from $12.35 an hour to $12.79 an hour. That you allow for single-step movement, and that you increase the monthly employer-paid health insurance contribution by $20 to $540 per employee. We ask that you increase the professional technical employees by 3.57% added to the base, which would increase the base from $38.75 to $40,170. Also allow for single-step movement on the schedule and increase the employer monthly contribution towards health insurance by $20. Head Start teachers, we are also requesting the 3.57% increase to the base pay, moving from $42,000 to $43,500. Single-step movement, and an increase in health insurance contribution by $20 monthly. And that you increase the substitute pay rate from up by 3.57% in each of the categories listed below. And we recommend that you make those changes for the upcoming school year. That 3.57% plus step and movement is essentially the same increase that we've negotiated for the certified staff as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there a motion? Dr. Bandry?
I move we approve the 2023-24 school year wage increases as stated above and allow for single-step movement on salary schedules as presented.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Zimmerman seconds. I'm going to excuse myself from this vote due to a potential conflict of interest. Mr. Grant?
There's a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion?
I had one question, which probably should have been done earlier, but I saw in the personnel report that a Head Start teacher is not a certified staff. That I mean, it's clear here that it's part of the classified staff. I'm curious why that is.
That designation has to do with the type of license that they possess. The Head Start teachers are not required to have a license that is issued by KSDE, so we sort of reserve that designation for our, I guess, general or non-Head Start teachers. They have, however, mirrored the salary schedule for their teachers to be in line with our salary schedule under the negotiated agreement.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? If not, all those in favor raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. No Russian coup happened while you were gone, so it's all yours again.
All right, good deal. The next item on our agenda is the 2023-2024 salaries and benefits for administrators. Ms. Wright.
We have a theme before us this evening. We are now recommending the same 3.57% increase for the administrator's salary schedule, that we add 3.57% to the base pay for each administrative line, that you allow for a single-step movement and an increase of $20 a month towards the cost of health insurance.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there a motion? Mr. Grant?
Mr. President, I move we approve the 2023-2024, for the 2023-2024 school year, that we approve the salary changes for administrators and superintendent as stated above.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
Second.
okay, Ms. Cusso seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is the 2023-2024 Handbook for Retired Certified Teachers or Retired Educators. Ms. Wright.
So our retired staff falls under a different set of working conditions, although their handbook is almost entirely the same as the negotiated agreement. There are a few provisions that do not apply to retired educators, so those are not included. But the changes that you have before you mirror the changes that were made and you just approved pending ratification for the negotiated agreement and the certified staff. Those include, they are paid on the same salary schedule, and they are subject to the same blackout day rules, calendar, leave rules as the non-retired educators. So we recommend to you that you afford those changes in the retired teacher's handbook as well.
I might ask a question just for a little clarification.
Sure.
If you could explain how that applies to someone who's retired.
So some of them, the retired educators will not necessarily have, and Lisa might be able to better speak to this, but they will follow the same day-to-day rules that a non-retired teacher will follow. But there will be things such as the benefits that they're offered versus their capers, contributions. Can you think of other things that might be different related to them? Those are the main ones. As statutory employees, we all are paid into the capers system. However, after retirement, it doesn't work in the same way, so those provisions would be different. The handbook would be different for those purposes.
Okay, so this would be maybe a teacher who's retired from another
Teaching.
district or teaching.
Could be here, could be another
And
district.
came back to work in our
Yes.
district. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion or any other questions? Maybe I'd ask that first. Dr. Bandry.
I move we approve the changes to the 23-24 Retired Certified Teachers Handbook as presented.
We have a motion. Ms. Schamberg seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda, Ms. Wright, with the 2023-2024 Support Staff Handbook.
So as you may recall, we engage in a process with our classified staff that is similar to negotiations in that we meet and discuss the terms and conditions of their employment. We met this, I think it's been March. We met in March and spoke with classified staff and discussed items within the support staff handbook. And there are some changes that we have here for you tonight after those discussions. The first one is that we remove the requirement to sign a waiver for bloodborne pathogens. That is no longer a requirement, so we would like to remove it from the handbook. We are also now not requiring drug screening upon employment unless you are required by law to have drug screen for the position, such as transportation, drivers, bus drivers, that type of thing. So we made changes for that. We changed the designation of maternity/paternity leave to parental leave in the handbook and have increased that leave by 5 days as well there, so for a total of 10 days. We added language to clarify the number of sick days received and how they're accrued moving forward. We didn't actually change the process, just the language to make it a little clearer. And we added a statement regarding vacation leave on how days are prorated should a person not start and work through the entirety of the calendar or the school year. Are there any questions?
Ms. Zimmerman?
I move that we approve the changes to the 23-24 support staff handbook as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Is there a second? Mr. Gardner? Scott beat you to it.
All good.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Wright. Board policy is our next one with you.
Yes. This is my last one, I promise. I'll go sit down. At your special meeting, you all had a first reading of the board policies that govern the board, Section B. And tonight, we have those again to you for the second reading as required by policy. And what we have for you presents a section of policies with no actual changes. So those are here for you again this evening to make doubly sure that you feel like they're where they should be now. And if you do so, then we recommend you approve those policies.
Ms. Zimmerman?
I move that we approve the policy revisions as presented, which is just updating the dates, I guess, on them. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Is there a second? Mr. Grant? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Our next item on our agenda is the board representative appointments with Superintendent Exline.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just need for you to approve the appointments for the committees that as board members that you serve on. And the representatives are listed in your packet. And at this time, if you have any questions, I'll certainly field those.
Remind me when we switch, like, because I don't think I've really been switched off one, so the next meeting we don't go to?
It would switch immediately.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Mr. Grant?
President, I move we approve the 2023-2024 board representative appointments as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Zimmerman seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Superintendent Exline, the next one is board governance and operating procedures revisions with you.
Okay, during your recent retreat, we actually went over the board governance document in depth, and there were several changes, some of them very minor wording changes, but we did address, I'm looking for it right now, the communication section. We pulled the information straight from the Kansas Open Meetings Act, like you asked me to do. And so you'll notice that that change has been made. It's page 13 in the document, page 149 when I'm scrolling through. And so we pulled the wording exactly out of the Open Meetings Act and replaced what we had in there. And then the other significant change that we made was we edited the final calendar to be more things that were that really needed to happen at that particular meeting. Some of those are just, that's typically when we do it, but instead, based upon what you said that you wanted, we have, these are things that need to happen in July, August, September, so that it's very clear what the absolute have-to-be topics are at those particular meetings. So if you have questions, I'm happy to field those. Otherwise, we just need a motion to approve that.
Thank you, Superintendent Exline. Is there a motion? Ms. Zimmerman?
I move that we approve the revisions to the board governance and operating procedures document as presented.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Dr. Bandry seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is school board committee reports and updating upcoming dates of importance. Just real quick, our upcoming dates of importance on August 7th. We do have the district-wide staff meeting at Central High at 8 a.m. On Friday, August 1st is the first day of school. And November 10th through the 12th is the KASB conference in Wichita. Regarding committee reports, we'll start with you, Ms. Schamberger.
Well, I attended the Salina Adult Education graduation and also the board retreat.
Thank you, Ms. Schamberger.
You're welcome.
Mr. Grant.
I attended the board retreat and a CKCIE Board of Control meeting in June. I don't believe anything huge to bring to the attention here.
Thank you, Ms. Cusso.
Same as Gabe.
Same as Gabe, okay. Dr. Bandry.
I attended the June meeting of the Smoke Hill Education Service Center. I usually attend those in person at their offices, but this one I attended from the parking lot of a Tim Hortons in Red Lake, Canada via live stream. So we can talk more about that later if you're interested, but it was a good meeting, and in particular because one of the things we did was approve Mr. Maldenwag, who's the executive director. We approved his performance review, and for the first time since I've been on that board, had an executive session where no members of the staff were present. So it was a good discussion that I really feel brought the board closer together and clarified a number of things. So it was a good session for sure. I attended the planning retreat, and I also attended, which was quite fun, the ribbon cutting of the new tennis courts at Oakdale Park. So.
Thank you, Dr. Bandry. Mr. Gardner.
I attended the adult education and the board retreat as well with Bonnie.
Good deal. Ms. Zimmerman.
The most fun thing I did this past month was during free lunches at the schools, they had Salina Arts and Humanities artists performing, and so I got to sing with kids at lunch. I had a list of old folk songs. They got to choose which ones to sing, and so we had a good time at Schilling and at Sunset. I attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. Just to let you know what's going on, they are officially removing the Jerry Ivy Pond and replacing it with water feature, and a lot of construction will be going on there in the next few months. They're doing therapeutic recreation with special ed kids at the library in collaboration with the library. It's the first time it's been happening since COVID. And also the first time since COVID was the play day in the park at the 4th of July with free hot dogs and ice snow cones. There are more soccer teams than ever using the soccer complex, and baseball, softball, both have turf now, so the rains don't cancel the games. But still, if there's lightning, you can't play when there's lightning, so they have to wait sometimes. But it's been very helpful to the ball players. I also attended the Salina Adult Education graduation, which is always inspiring to see the major hurdles that those students have to overcome and do overcome to graduate. And I attended the retreat. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. I was with Dr. Bandry at the tennis courts ribbon cutting. The board retreat, that was a really nice time. I felt like we accomplished a lot that day. I'm trying to remember, we had negotiations. I can't remember if that's been since our last meeting or it's been kind of a whirlwind with a lot of things going on. But still a lot of things to do out there. So thank you for all you've done. The next item is our superintendent's report, Ms. Exline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we're gearing up for students to return on August 11th, and boy, that is coming fast. Enrollment opened this morning, We have in-person enrollment scheduled for Tuesday, July 25th for families that have questions. That will be at Central High. And on that same day, we will have the back-to-school fair. And there will be free backpacks, physicals, dental screenings. Community agencies will be there to provide resources to our families on the 25th for families that are interested in that. We had quite a bit of movement today on the online enrollment, so I anxiously watch that each day as the numbers come in. We had our first of multiple new administrator orientations last week with our new principal and assistant principal at South High, and so we had a great day with them and have another day coming up with them here shortly. We do have our administrator retreat tomorrow and Thursday. We will be working on looking at some data related to our progress on the strategic plan goals and working on some leadership skills and then visible learning training, some visible learning leadership training. We do have leadership for tomorrow from the KASB here on Friday. And the plan is for them to tour our projects that are community collaborations. And so we will go see the tennis projects, the softball, baseball projects, and then we'll end up back here and I'll share a little bit about our communication efforts and how the board tries to build and the superintendent try to build community partnerships. And then I want you to know that Jennifer Kamian and I will be next week at the National School Public Relations Conference. We'll be accepting that Gold Medallion Award for our Wish You Were Here campaign that our staff worked so hard on. And so we're really proud of that and have the opportunity to go do that. So.
Thank you so much for all you guys, all the staff, all you do during the summer. Well, schools are closed. We thank even teachers preparing for the year. We want to thank you all for that. The next item on our agenda is an executive session for personnel. How long do we need for this one?
I'd say 15 minutes.
15?
Do you think longer than that? She's saying longer.
So
She
we'll-
said 30.
22 and a half.
I'll take the motion.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:10 for 20 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations. Because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might evade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:30 in the SEC room.
Ms. Zimmerman seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We will be headed to executive session. I have just a moment here. We do have
Take
a.
it with them. They're just helping us. I guess I could.
We do have a motion.
Okay. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:33 for 15 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations. Because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:48 in the board conference room.
Okay, we have a motion. Dr. Bandry seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. We'll be back in executive session. We are back from executive session. Dr. Bandry, I believe you have a motion for us?
Mr. President, I move that the board deny the request by Gina Turner for a waiver of liquidated damages.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Grant seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. I believe we also have a motion from Mr. Grant.
Mr. President, I move to adjust the superintendent contract salary for the 2023-2024 school year to account for the average step, movement, and cost of living percentage raise given to all faculty and staff since the start of the contract.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. There's a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Casso seconds. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. That will conclude our live stream, and we will be going into our work session now. Thank you for joining us.